Hey guys, today we're going to talk about the Revtronic MT20. They sent me this light for review and I wanted to put this out to you guys and show you what you're getting. This is a pretty decent budget light. Looks like the current price on Amazon is around $50. You can get it through the website, Revtronic's website, and I'll put links. And I believe their MRSP is around like 70, 80 bucks. This is a single 18650 flashlight using the XML2 LED, very similar in size and shape to the Thrunite TN, the TC10 or the TN10. You can see very close in size. The Thrunite being a little bit longer overall, but overall very similar head size, head shape, beam profiles, very similar, both fairly close in construction. So I'm using that as kind of my test standard. Do bear in mind the Thrunite is, around 80 bucks, so it is a much more expensive light. So Revtronic does not have a ton on their website about this light, such as lumens in the various modes, run times, all that stuff. And so I kind of had to start by scratch. So what I ended up getting with this thing is a 40 lumen mode, a 193, 494, and 874. So my guess, based on what I know is the error in mine, is that you're probably looking at 50, 200, 500, and 900 is probably what it matches up to. And by comparison, the TC10 has those two lower modes. It has a 0, 12, 290, and then 835. Sorry guys, little brain fart there. So you can see it actually has a little bit brighter, just a hair brighter, and it has a little bit different mode spacing. So you're getting pretty much essentially just as bright of a flashlight. Now, one thing I also did was to test the amperage coming out of the flashlight at the 4 different modes, and what I came up with in the low mode was 0.1 amps, next was 0.4 amps, 1.0 amps, and 2.15 amps. So you can use this to calculate what your run times are going to be, because that's pretty much what it's drawing amp wise at the peak. That will only go down over time. So if you were to take 2.15, which is essentially 2,150 amp hours, you divide that into your capacity of your battery, and you can get a runtime out of this. And so using a 3400 milliamp hour Panasonic NCR 18650B, which are 3400 milliamps, it says effectively a 90-minute runtime. I got some slightly longer runtimes, but you do have to bear in mind the light dims over time, so your runtime is going to be longer than that. But you do have a nice long runtime on that 900 lumen mode, and even that smaller mode, the 40 lumen mode, is going to last a really long time. That's essentially 100 milliamp hours. You're talking, what is that, 33 hours on the low mode. So you got some pretty good variation between the modes, your low one being well over a day. Very cool tail switch. It's proud, meaning it sticks out and is not encased. A lot of flashlights nowadays are encased, which allows them to tail stand. So you're not going to be able to tail stand this light. And I do like that because it does lend to the cigar hold a little bit better. And being this also has a momentary on, very handy to hold and actually very comfortable. The grip here is made of plastic and is just friction fit on there. So, as I mentioned, you have a momentary on. When the light is on, mode is switched between with the button. You can see that right there. See that flickering? That is PWM, pulse width modulation. This does affect some people. I do have to point that out because it's there. You can see it plain as day. It will, some people, it can cause headaches and problems. So bear in mind, if you are sensitive to it, that is something that's you're going to see in the various low modes. It's a little more obvious as I kind of lift it up away. But yeah, that is pulse width modulation. You can see the frequency changes a little bit as we go up, and of course high mode has none. It never will, because that's your high mode. Holding in brings you to strobe, and that's simple as you get. Alright, so we talked about basic construction, normal aluminum tube, the proud tail switch. Side switch is pretty flush. You're not going to be able to activate this, you know, just, you know, it's not something you're going to have to worry about switching modes easily. Construction, let's pull this thing apart real quick. So, rear tail cap is standard construction with a nice heavy duty coated spring in there. See a split ring, so if you do want to take it apart, replace the switch, anything like that, you are capable of doing it. You can also see that it did come from the factory pretty dirty. Threads are not anodized, so it means you can't lock out the light by opening the tail cap just a thread or two. That's a little bit of a disappointment, but the threads are actually good quality. They're cut very well and are pretty decent, so that is a plus. Just too bad they're not anodized. I really do prefer anodized threads because it is nice to have that extra little bit of protection to know that your light's not going to be draining. Now, I'm not sure if this is an electronic switch or not. I'm assuming it is, so this will probably drain the battery a very, very small amount as your... Oh no, it won't. It's two switch. I can't do that. What am I thinking? Brain fart, guys. Alright, so we're going to pull the head apart. There's your bezel, which is aluminum. Your glass is not anti-reflective. You can see right there the reflection in that. So there is not anti-reflective coating in that. So if you are a modder, that's something you can do to improve the light. That will actually improve the lumen output. Smooth reflector, nice quality, no defects in it. Aluminum, not cheap plastic or anything like that. You can see it has a good gasket to prevent shorts on the LED. There is your actual LED, and it is a real cree. Now, one of the things you have to watch out for, guys, is a lot of budget lights out there use fake LEDs. This is a genuine cree on a copper star, which is that little kind of board you see soldered in there. And there's a couple things to note quality-wise on this. Number one, you can see the wires are actually fairly thick. A lot of cheap flashlights use very thin wires, and that can really be, you know, not good news if you're looking for a performance flashlight. Those wires are actually pretty thick. The solder joints look pretty good to me. And one thing, hopefully you can see. See if we focus. Alright, you see in between the kind of paddles of the star that there is some white material in there. That is heat sink compound. Usually it's some kind of like Arctic silver or something like that. You can see it's oozing out in between all of the paddles. So that means there's a good generous coating of that material in there. So in all likelihood this has a very good thermal connection with the head of the flashlight. So I did want to point that out as well, because that's just, you know, these are these little quality thing, guys, that I know about having built a couple of lights that are real important. You can see it's XML2. You know, as far as I can tell, it looks like a genuine cree LED. I know it says cree on the board there, but that doesn't mean it's a real cree LED. That board is just a board. But looking close up with a loop, that LED does appear to be genuine. So there's a couple different ways to tell by looking at them. Nothing I can show you on the camera, but it does, you know. They took some time in building this, guys. This is not El Cheapo. You know, you can see from the thicker wires, the copper board, the heatsink compound under it, all that. You know, there was some love put into this. So now what you can do if you are a modder and you are interested in taking this light to the next level, you can do a spring bypass on the tail cap. Uh-oh. You can do... What did I do? Oops. Of course, we're trying to get this back together and it gives me a hard time on camera. Go figure. So we're just going to set that down for a second. I didn't fumble around while you guys are watching. So as you can see, simple to use, pretty good mode spacing, same brightness as the Thrunite. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles that Thrunite has, but at that discount price, you are getting a pretty good deal on the thing, and good ergonomics. I think good spacing for the cigar hold. Pretty much every light I have, including this through light, I usually take off those tactical rings. This is the first one I ever actually wanted to keep on. Surprisingly, it actually is pretty good and pretty comfortable. It fits a good variety of batteries. I've tried protected and unprotected batteries, no issues with either. So overall, guys, you're getting a pretty good solid flashlight for the price. I know the competition is very stiff in this type of flashlight. You know, the small pocket thrower is what I would consider this. There's a lot of competition, and there's some that are cheap, some that are more expensive. This kind of falls dead in the middle. But when you look at everything and compare quality-wise, there's a lot of good stuff going on with the light that does let it keep up. So I know lots of times when these new brands, you know, you see them and you're kind of like, ugh, how do I know it's good or not? And you know, and then there's some people who just really film commercials. They don't really look at the light or anything like that or do any testing. But this thing does. It's a pretty decent build. I think middle of the road all the way. You know, middle of the road quality, middle of the road price. This is, you know, that kind of Goldilocks flashlight if you're looking for something in that price range. You know, but to each their own. You know, the only complaints I do have and the criticism that I do have to level at the light, of course, are the rear threads not being anodized. The battery that comes with it is a 2600 milliamp hour battery. That's pretty outdated by today's standards. I pretty much chucked it right away. It wasn't worth holding on to. Most of my batteries are 3000 milliamp hours and above. The non-reflective glass, a bit of a bummer. Once again, that's probably like $1 fix. Really not anything to, you know, get upset about, especially if you're a modder, you like tweaking these things. And other than that, not much. You know, it's pretty decent, pretty solid. Doesn't get very hot when you're running it. You can run it. I ran this thing full blast for, you know, pretty much the entire run time, like 2 or 3 times. We actually had a power outage. Yeah, that's like a wet dream for a flashlight guy, and was able to do quite a bit with this thing and run it and see how it heated up and how it reacted. And this thing it really did well. This does, you know, just as good as an $80 flashlight at $50. I'm going to give you a quick run through of the modes. This is turbo, of course. You can see really nice concentrated hot spot, good area of spill, very well defined, pretty well focused beam. Here's your low mode, which is nowhere near as bright. Second highest, third highest, and turbo again. There you go. There's that. Now we're going to bring in the Thrunite to see for comparison. See, there's the turbo mode. Once we find that button. There we go. Moonlight you can't see, it's just too dim. Next. So there's those. And we're going to do both. So you can kind of get an idea. Here are the 2 turbos. You can see the 2 beams. Bring them both down to low. You can see you can only see the one. There you go. Those are pretty even actually. So overall, except for the low modes, these things are pretty even. And of course the so there you go, guys. There's a quick comparison and the modes.